Alrighty, so 1 second. Okay, we are ready to start. So we'll do Jai Radha Madhava. I'm going to chant right now. Just let me get the guitar. Jai Radha Madhava, Jaya Kunya Vihari, Jai Radha Madhava, Kunya Vihari, Upichana Malamba, Jaya Giri Madhurari, Jaya Giri Madhurari. Bichana Malaba Jaya Giri Barorari Jaya Giri Barorari Yasoda Nana Jaya Jajana Ranjana Yasoda Nana Jaya Bajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Nayo Kunjabiyari Kunjabiyari Yamuna Tira Manachari Nayo Kunjabiyari Jaya Kunjabiyari Jaya Randamadova Jaya Kunya Vihari Jaya Randamadova Jaya Kunya Vihari Gopichana Manapa Jaya Giri Varorari Jaya Giri Varorari Gopichana Manapa Jaya Giri Varorari Giri Varorari Yasoda Nandana Jaya Gachachana Ranjana Yasoda Nandana Jaya Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Manachari Nayo Kunya Vihari Jaya Kunya Vihari Yamuna Tira Manachari Nayo Kunya Vihari Kunya Vihari Randamadova Jaya Kunya Jaya Randamadova Jaya Kunya Vihari Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Acharya Alstoteta Satashi Shimad His Divine Grace Avaya Charanada Bhaktivedanta Goswami Mahārishila Prabhupada Ki Jai ISKCON Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrindi Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Say Gaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Brahmanichananda Shidwaita Garadha Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrindagijai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go pick up at no Shyam Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Kijai Vrindavanam Kijai Maturam Kijai Jagannath Swami Kijai Yamunamai Kijai Shrimati Lasi Devi Kijai Samaveda Bhakta Vrindagijai Gaur Premananda Hari Hari Bom. All glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees, all glory is the assembled devotees. All glory is to Shri Guru and Gauranga, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Namani, Namaste Saraswati Deve, Gauravani Pacharini Nivashesha Shunyavadi Paschachate Shatari. So Umagana Timidandasha Gadanjana Shalakya Chakshur Unmeditam Yena Tasmai Shi Gurave Namaha. So I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual masters, divine grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Srila Prabhupada so kindly opened my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge while I was blinded in the darkness of ignorance. Okay. So, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhaktivinoda, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhaktivinoda, Jaya Jaya Sri Caitanya, Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra, Jaya Gaur Bhaktivinoda. So we're going to continue reading from the Sri Caitanya Caritamrta. And we're reading from chapter 4 of the Adi Lila. Chapter 4 of the Adi Lila deals with the esoteric reasons for the Lord's advent. Just to reiterate, the esoteric reasons are the Lord's personal reasons for coming down to this earth, such as he wanted to enjoy from the perspective of his best devotee, Srimati Radharani. He wanted to see himself and appreciate his beauty and opulences through Radharani's eyes. And he wanted to understand the love that Srimati Radharani has for him. So these are the esoteric reasons. And of course, the exoteric reasons are to start the Sankirtan movement. Both are important. But the primary reasons are his personal reasons. Secondary reasons are starting the Sankirtan movement, but they're both connected. Can't have one without the other. Okay, so we're going to continue reading from the Sri Caitanya Caritamrta. We're going to share the screen and allow some of you to read along with us, or read, or share the reading after I do my reading. Okay, here we're sharing the screen. And if you want to read and not have the same people who are reading every night, then you should raise your hand in the participant window. So you see that it says participants. So you go to participants and you raise your hand, not in your video window, not like that. Not like that. Don't do that, because I'm not going to see you. But raise it in the participant window. Okay. So let me clear the screen so I can read now. All right. Starting from text 185. This is one of the largest chapters in the Caitanya Caritamrta. So, Araikadbhuta Gopi Bhavera Swabhav Budira Gocharanahi Akhara Prabhav. There's another wonderful feature of the emotion of the gopis. Its power is beyond the comprehension of the intelligence. Gopigana Kare Yabe Krishna Darashan Sukhavanjanaki Sukha Hoya Koti Gun. When the gopis see Lord Krishna, they derive unbounded bliss, although they have no desire for such pleasure. Why do they have no desire? Because they just want to give Krishna happiness. It's their heart. They're completely devoted to Krishna's happiness. Gopipa Pika Darshane Krishnariye Ananda Hoy Tahahite Kotiguna Gopi Ashvadai. The gopis taste the pleasure 10 million times greater than the pleasure Lord Krishna derives from seeing them. There's that 10 million times again. So purport. The wonderful characteristics of the gopis are beyond imagination. They have no desire for personal satisfaction. Yet, when Krishna is happy by seeing them, that happiness makes the gopis a million times more happy than Krishna himself. Tan sabadanahi nija sukha anuroda, tatapi bhadye sukha padila viroda. The gopis have no inclination for their own enjoyment, and yet their joy increases. That indeed is a contradiction. E virodera ekamatra deki samadhan. Gopikara sukha Krishna sukhe paryashva san. For this contradiction, I see only one solution. The joy of the gopis lies in the joy of their beloved Krishna. Purport. The situation of the gopis is perplexing, for although they did not want personal happiness, it was imposed upon them. Wow. The solution to this perplexity is that Sri Krishna's sense of happiness is limited by the happiness of the gopis. Devotees of Vrindavan therefore tried to serve the gopis, namely Radharani and her associates. If one gains the favor of the gopis, he easily gains the favor of Krishna, because on the recommendation of the gopis, Krishna at once accepts the service of a devotee. Lord Caitanya therefore wanted to please the gopis instead of Krishna. But his contemporaries misunderstood him, and for this reason, Lord Caitanya renounced the order of household life and became a sannyasi. I guess I should tell that story. Well, what happened is that Lord Caitanya was teaching his students at a particular, it was just normal teaching, of course, really the best teacher possible, teaching Sanskrit, grammar, rhetoric, and everything like that. But then after Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took initiation from his spiritual master, Ishwara Puri, he became a madman in love of God, and he began to describe even the Sanskrit grammatical cases in relationship with Krishna and Krishna's pastimes and Krishna's qualities. So that was one thing. But he then began to chant the names of the gopis. And as he was chanting the names of the gopis, his students became very, very bewildered. And they began to instruct him. They said, Guru Dev, because that's how a teacher is referred to. Actually, you have martial arts gurus, you have gurus who teach you linguistic stuff, you have gurus who teach you how to program a computer guru. Even in one particular company, they have gurus you can go in and they actually call their technological people who help them with their ridiculous phones, or I'm not going to mention what company, because I don't like that company. So anyway, these students went to Lord Chaitanya and said, Guru, or Guru Maharaj, or Guru Dev, actually you should be chanting Krishna's name. Don't chant the gopis' names, that's ridiculous. And Lord Chaitanya got so angry with them, he ran after them with a stick to beat them, and they ran away, and they complained about Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Lord Chaitanya was thinking, I have come down to save all these conditioned souls. And now these conditioned souls are going to go to hell because they're committing offenses against me. So I have to do something so that they will listen to me. Now in India at that time, and to a certain extent now, If one would take the renounced order of life, one would be respected. Even if one was a rascal. Of course, Lord Chaitanya is not a rascal. But that's the way the culture was. That people would take the way you dress as your identity, which is crazy. But most people are Sudras. What does that mean? Shudras. A Shudra simply looks at the external way that someone acts, looks, and doesn't consider internally what's going on in the person. So Shudra will look at someone and say, oh, there's a man, there's a woman, there's an American, blah, 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 like that. Bodily identification. That's Shudra. And in Kali Yuga, that Shudra tendency has escalated to such an extent that Brahmins consider only those who have certain types of bodies and genes and born in Brahmin families to actually be Brahmins. But the real meaning of the word Brahman is one who knows Brahman. We talked about that in class this morning. That's the real meaning of the word Brahman. One who knows Brahman. But the Brahman will change that, because Brahman means spirit, for those of you who don't know. So these so-called Brahmanas will change that understanding until it comes to one who has a certain type of body. You. And Lord Chaitanya did not preach that. He said, Yaridagatari kar Krishna Padesham Arigai Guru Hoitori Desh. Everyone should preach. And Kiva Vipra Kiva Nyasi Shudra Kenanaye Krishna Tadva Veda. Say Guru Hoy. That one can be accepted as a guru if he knows the science of Krishna. And we were reading one quote from Prabhupada, and I don't have it here in front of me. Prabhupada said, even if materially one is a first-class rascal, which is interesting. That word rascal is such an interesting word. In India, it's a heavy thing. So even materially, if one is a first-class rascal, one could be accepted as guru if he knows the science of Krishna. Of course, he can't be spiritually a first-class, 10th-class, third-class rascal. So the point is that people impose their bodily conceptions on spiritual life. I mean, like some people think, because of a particular gender, you can't become Krishna conscious, or you can't become a guru. Can you imagine that? Or a particular race, or a particular history. Not like that. That's not Lord Chaitanya's philosophy. That's the philosophy of ritualistic Brahmins, which has reared its ugly head and infiltrated into our society. Anyway, so Lord Chaitanya understood this whole point because, you got Shudras who see the body as the all in all, see the color of the dress. Just like, here I am, dressed in saffron. Oh, Maharaj. Oh, greatly exalted soul. And then sometimes during the day, because it's cold out and I'm exercising, I dress in regular pants. And I put a coat on. It's cold. And I go outside, and go to the temple, and we have some guests, and don't get no respect. I'm lamenting. Why am I not respected? No, I'm not. I don't care about respect. But anyway, but nobody respects you. Nobody goes, oh, Maharaj, please accept my obeisances, all glories to your lotus feet. Here's a donation. Nobody does that because of the difference in dress. I'm the same person, the same entity, the same Krishna consciousness, or the same lack of Krishna consciousness, but the dress changes everything. It's really amazing. It's completely amazing. So, therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, getting back to the story, understood that people were stupid. And because he understood that people are stupid and sannyasis people respect, okay, let me put on a robe. take sannyas that people respect. Also, sannyas meant internally, that's the external reason. Sannyas means internally complete absorption and separation from Krishna. But in Kali Yuga, you actually have people who dress as sannyasis, who are not actually sannyasis. Prabhupada commented that he had a next-door neighbor when he was married. Prabhupada was married. And the next-door neighbor was also married. Nothing wrong with that. But during the day, this next-door neighbor would put on his sannyas robes, and he'd go out and collect as a sannyasi, because people were so happy. Oh, Maharaj, blessings, blessings, Ashivat, Ashivat, Ashivat. That's the one phrase you got to remember if you're a sannyasi. Don't have to chant Hare Krishna. That won't get you any money. But you have to remember Ashivat. In the right hand, there's a certain mudra you have to have. Not your left hand. Left hand is not auspicious. Right hand. Ashivat. One time there was a guru who was doing his Ashivat, blessing to someone, and he was doing it to a Western person. And the Western person thought the guru was saying, high five. And so the Western person just slapped his guru's hand, said, oh, Guru Maharaj, high five. Blissful Guru Maharaj. You are really up to the times, Guru Maharaj. Anyway, there's so many rascals who dress in saffron, and there's so many good people who don't dress in saffron. But because it's Kali Yuga, Kalo Shudra Sambhava, people take the dress as the all in all, and they're respectful. They're respectful. I'm a man and a sannyasi. But if I was a lady, okay, wash those dishes, clean those pots, cook that food, get to work. I am. Okay. Enough humor for today. Okay. So next text. Sorry. Gopika darshane krishnara vare prapulata. Say madhurya vare yara nahiko samapta. When Lord Krishna sees the gopis, his joy increases, and his unparalleled sweetness increases also. Amara darshane Krishna paila esuka esuke gopira prapula anga mukha. The gopis think Krishna has obtained so much pleasure by seeing me. That thought increases the fullness and beauty of their faces and bodies. Gopi Shobha Deki Krishnera Shobha Badayat. Krishna Shobha Deki Gopira Shobha Badhe Tat. The beauty of Lord Krishna increases at the sight of the beauty of the gopis. The more the gopis see Lord Krishna's beauty, the more their beauty increases. E mata paraspara pade uda udi. Paraspara pade keha muga nahi mudi. In this way, a competition takes place between them in which no one acknowledges defeat. Kintu Krishnera Sukhahaya Gopi Rupa Gune. Antano Sukhe Sukha Vredi Haya Gopi Gane. Krishna, however, derives pleasure from the beauty and good qualities of the gopis, and when the gopis see his pleasure, the joy of the gopis increases. Atevase Sukha Krishna Sukha Poshe. Ehi tu Gopi Preme Nahi Kama Doshe. Therefore, we find that the joy of the gopis nourishes the joy of Lord Krishna. For that reason, the fault of lust is not present in their love. By looking at the beautiful gopis, Krishna becomes enlivened, and this enlivens the gopis, whose youthful faces and bodies blossom. This competition of increasing beauty between the gopis and Krishna, which is without limitations, is so delicate that sometimes mundane moralists mistake these dealings as to be purely amorous. That means mundane lust. But these affairs are not at all mundane, because the gopis' intense desire to satisfy Krishna surcharges the entire scene with pure love of God and without a spot of sexual indulgence. Upetchapati sanoditad tatibir abir abhyarchitam smitangura karambitar natada pangabanga shattahai stanas stavaka sancharanayanacha achanchari kanchalam Braje Vijaniram Yanam Bhaje Vipina Deshata Keshavam. I worship Lord Krishna Coming back from the forest of Braja, he is worshipped by the gopis who mount the roofs of the palaces and meet him on the path with 100 manners of dancing glances and gentle smiles. The corners of his eyes wander like large black bees around the gopis' breasts. This statement appears in the Keshava Ashtaka 8 of the Stavamala compiled by Srila Rupa Goswami. Ada Eka Gopi Premara Swabhavika Chin. Ye Prakare Haya Prema Kama Ganda Hin. There's another natural symptom of the gopis' love that shows to be without a trace of lust. Gopi prema kari Krishna madhu yera pushti. Madhur ye badaya prema hanya mahatushti. The love of the gopis nourishes the sweetness of Lord Krishna. That sweetness in turn increases their love, for they are greatly satisfied. Priti vishayanande tad ashayananda. Tanha nahi nija sukha vanchara sambandha. The happiness of the abode of love is in the happiness of the object of that love. This is not a relationship of desire for personal sense gratification. Dirupari premayana tanha e riti. Priti vishaya sukhe ashrayara priti. Nija premanande Krishna sevananda vade. Se anandera prati bhaktera haya mahakrode. Whenever there is unselfish love, that is its style. The reservoir of love derives pleasure when the lovable object is pleased. When the pleasure of love interferes with the service of Lord Krishna, the devotee becomes angry towards such ecstasy. As mentioned above, the gopis are the predominated lovers, and Sri Krishna is the predominator, the beloved. The love of the predominated nourishes the love of the predominator. The gopis had no desire for selfish enjoyment. Their feeling of happiness was indirect, for it was always dependent on the pleasure of Sri Krishna. Cause of the love of God, it is always so. Such pure love is possible only when the predominated is made happy by the happiness of the predominator. Such unadulterated love is exemplified when the lover deprecates her happiness in service that hinders her from discharging it. Just like the story that's there, that when Daruka, Krishna's servant, was fanning him, he was feeling some ecstasy, and that ecstasy was interfering with his ability to fan Krishna, so he got angry with the ecstasy. He said, let this ecstasy stop this ecstasy, because it was interfering with his service. And let's see, I'll read this one verse and purport, and then we'll let the next person read. Anga stamparambham utungayantang premanandam daruko nabyadandat kang sarater vijane yena sakshad akshodian antarayo yadhayi. Shri Daruka did not relish his ecstatic feelings of love, for they caused his limbs to become stunned and thus obstructed his service of fanning Lord Krishna. Actually, this is exactly what I just mentioned before. This verse is from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 3.2.62. Okay, and let's see, who's going to go next? Let's see, who has their hands up? Just the old guys. Okay, we'll let the old guys go again, unfortunately. Okay, Prangovinda, you are unmuted. You can chant right now. Go ahead.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Prabhupada.
Oh, glory to Srila Prabhupada. Okay.
Just to let you know, I love your explanation. You are hilarious, wonderful, pure devotee.
How much do I have to pay you for saying that?
No, you are, Maharaj. Such a wonderful. Govinda. Govinda Prekshana Kepshi Bashpa Purabhivarshinam Ucher Aninda Anandam Aravinda Vilochana. Translation: the lotus-eyed Radharani powerfully condemned the ecstatic love that caused a flow of tears and hindered her sight of Govinda. This verse is also from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. আর শুদ্ধ ভক্ত কৃষ্ণ প্রেম শিবা বিনে সুসুখার্থ সালুক্যাদি না করে গ্রহণে। Furthermore, pure devotee never forsake the loving service of Lord Krishna to aspire for their own personal pleasure through the 5 kinds of liberation. Purport: a pure devotee of Krishna who loves him exclusively with flatly refuse to accept any sort of liberation, beginning from merging with the body of the Lord and extending to the other varieties of liberation, such as equality of form, opulence, or abode, and the opulence of living near the Lord. Madguna Sruti Matrena Mai Sarva Guhasaye Manogati Vichinna Jata Gangam Bhaso Sambodo Lakshanam Bhakti Yogasya Nirgunasya Suridritam.
You didn't give the translation.
Oh, it's funny. In my Bengali one, there's both together. Okay. Just as the celestial waters of the Ganges flow unobstructed unto the ocean, so when my devotees simply hear of me, their minds come to me who reside in the hearts of all. Lakshanam bhakti yogasya nirgunasya suridritam ahetaki vyavahita ja bhakti purushottame. These are the characteristics of transcendental loving service to Purushottama, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It is causeless and it cannot be obstructed in any way. Salukkasasti sarupas samippaikyatam api uta diyamanam na grinnanti vinamat sevanam jana. My devotees do not accept salukka, sasti, sarupa, samippa, or oneness with me. Even if I offer this liberation in preference to serving me. These 3 verses from Srimad Bhagavatam 3.29.11 to 13 were spoken by Lord Krishna in the form of Kapila Dev.
All right, let me just explain. Salokya means living on the same planet as the Lord. Sarshati means the opulence of the Lord. Sarupya means having the form of the Lord. Samipya Samipya means associating with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and Sayuja, which is not mentioned here. Actually, I think Sayuja is mentioned in the. Is it mentioned here?
No.
No, Sayuja. No, it's mentioned
Well,
as
it says
Ekatvam,
oneness.
Ekatvam. But Sayuja is actually merging into the existence of the Lord. So, in other words, the devotees don't ask for those things or want those things. They simply want to please Krishna. Go ahead.
Matsevaya pratitam te salukadi chatustrayam nechanti sevaya purna kutonnat kalo viplutam. My devotees, having fulfilled their desires by serving me, do not accept the 4 kinds of salvation that are easily earned by such service. When they should, why then should they accept any pleasure that are lost in the course of time? Purport: this verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 9.4.67 was spoken by the Lord in connection with the characteristics of Maharaj Ambarish. Merging into the existence of the Absolute is as temporary as living in the celestial kingdom. Both of them are controlled by time. Neither position is permanent. Kamagandhahina savabika gopi prem nirmala ujjala suddha jena dagdha hema. The natural love of the gopis is devoid of any trace of lust. It is faultless, bright, and pure like molten gold. Krishnara Sahaya Guru Bandava Preyasi Gopika Hayen Priya Sisha Sakhi Dasi. The gopis are the helpers, teachers, friends, wives, dear disciples, confidants, and serving maids of Lord Krishna. Sahaya Gurava Sisya Bhujisya Bandavaha Striya Sattam Badami Te Partha Gopa Kimme Bhavantina. O Partha, I speak to you the truth. The gopis are my helpers, teachers, disciples, servants, friends, and consort. I do not know what they are not to me. Purport. This verse was spoken by Lord Krishna in the Gopi Prema Amrita. Gopika janen Krishner manera vanchita prema seva paripati ista sanghita. The gopis knows Krishna's desire and they know how to render perfect loving service for his enjoyment. They perform their service expertly for the satisfaction of their beloved. Man mahattam mat samarpayam mat shraddham man manogatam jananti gopika partha nanne jananti tattataha. O Partha, the gopis know my greatness, my loving service, respect for me, and my mentality. Others cannot really know this. This verse was spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna in Adi Puran. Sei gopigan madhye uttama radhika rupe gune saubhagya prema sarvadhika. Among the gopis, Srimati Radhika is the foremost. She surpasses all in beauty, in good qualities, in good fortune, and above all, in all love, in love. Purport. Amongst all the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most exalted. She is the most beautiful, the most qualified, and above all, the greatest lover of Krishna. Jatha Radha Priya Vishnu Tasya Kundam Priyam Tatha Sarva Gopishu Saiveka Vishnu Rattanta Vallava. Just as Radha is dear to Lord Krishna, so her bathing place, Radha Kunda, is dear to him. She alone is his most beloved of all the gopis. Purport. This verse is from the Padma Puran.
Okay, yeah, why don't we stop here and then we'll go on to the next reader. These are all verses in glorification of Radharani's love and all of her qualities. Amazing. Prabhupada doesn't give much purports to these because these verses are self-explanatory and very elevated, very, very elevated subject matters that most of us are not able to fully, or even like, not what to question, fully, like even understand to 1/1000th of a degree. Okay, so Mr. Cohen is next, Mr. Gopal Cohen. You're allowed to unmute now. If you said you want to read, okay,
yes,
go ahead.
Gurudev. Text 216. Triloke Prithvi Danya Yatra Vrindavanam Puri Tatrapi Gopika Parta Yatra Radha Vidha Mama. O Partha, in all the 3 planetary systems, this earth is especially fortunate. For on earth is the town of Vrindavan, and there the gopis are especially glorious, because among them is my Srimati Radharani. Purport. This verse spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna is cited from the Adi Purana.
Okay, I just want to mention one thing before you go on. I was just looking at the word by word synonyms. Very beautiful, these last 3 words. Radha Avida Mama. So Krishna is actually, this is a possessive here. Among them is my Radharani. It's a very beautiful statement. Mama, of course, means my, it's possessive. Anyway, go ahead. Text 217.
Radha Sahakrida Rasa Vidhira Karana Ara Saba Gopi Gana Rasopa Karana. All the other gopis help increase the joy of Krishna's pastimes with Radharani. The gopis act as the instruments of their mutual enjoyment. Purport. It is said that the gopis are divided into 5 groups, namely the Sakhis, Nitya Sakhis, Prana Sakhis, Priya Sakhis, and Parama Preshta Sakhis. All these fair-complexioned associates of Srimati Radharani, the Queen of Vrindavan Dham, are expert artists in evoking erotic sentiments in Krishna. The Parama Preshta Sakhis are 8 in number, and in the ecstatic dealings of Krishna and Radha, they side sometimes with Krishna and at other times with Radharani, just to create a situation in which it appears that they favor one against the other. That makes the exchange of mellows more palatable. Text 218. Krishnera Vallabha Radha Krishna Pranadan Tanha Vinu Sukhahetu Nahe Gopigan. Radha is the beloved consort of Krishna, and she is the wealth of his life. Without her, the gopis cannot give him pleasure. Text 219. Kangsarir api sangsara vasana bara shrinkalam radham adhaya hridaye tatyaja vrajasundari. Lord Krishna, the enemy of Kamsa, left aside the other gopis during the rasa dance and took Srimati Radharani to his heart, for she is the helper of the Lord in realizing the essence of his desires. Purport. In this verse from the Gita Govinda 3.1, Jayadev Goswami describes Sri Krishna's leaving the Rasa Lila to search for Srimati Radharani. Text 220. Se Radhara Bhava Tana Chaitanyavatara Yuga Dharma Nama Prema Kaila Parachara. Lord Chaitanya appeared with the sentiment of Radha. He preached the Dharma of this age, the chanting of the holy name and pure love of God. Se bhave nija vancha karila puran avatarera e vancha mula karana. In the mood of Srimati Radharani, he also fulfilled his own desires. This is the principal reason for his appearance. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gosani Rajendra Kumara Rasamaya Murti Krishna Sakshad Shringara. Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya is Krishna Rajendra Kumar, the embodiment of rasas. He is amorous love personified. Text 223. Se rasa aspadite kaila avatar anusange kaila sabha rasira prachara. He made his appearance to taste that conjugal mellow and incidentally to broadcast all the rasas. Vishvesham anuranjanena janayan anandam indivara Shreni Shamala Komalayar Upanayan Angayar Anangotsavam Swachandam Vraja Sundarari Bir Abita Pratyangam Alingitaha Shringara Saki Murtimam Iva Madhau Mugdo Hari Kridati. My dear friends, just see how Sri Krishna is enjoying the season of spring. With the gopis embracing each of his limbs, he is like amorous love personified. With his transcendental pastimes, he enlivens all the gopis and the entire creation. With his soft bluish black arms and legs, which resemble blue lotus flowers, he has created a festival for Cupid. This is also a verse from the Gita Govinda 1.11. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Gosairis Sara Sadhana Ashesha Visheshe Kaila Rasa Asvadana. Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya is the abode of rasa. He himself tasted the sweetness of rasa in endless ways. Se dware pravartayala kali yuga dharma chaitanyara dase jane e sabamarma. Thus he initiated the Dharma for the age of Kali. The devotees of Lord Chaitanya know all these truths. Purport. Lord Chaitanya is Sri Krishna himself, the absolute enjoyer of the love of the gopis. He himself assumes the role of the gopis to taste the predominated happiness of transcendental mellows. He appeared in that mode, but simultaneously he propagated the religious process for this age in a most fascinating way. Only the confidential devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can understand this transcendental secret. Advaita Acharya Nityananda Srinivas Gadadhara Damodara Murari Haridas Arayata Chaitanya Krishnera Bhaktagan Bhakti Bhave Shire Dari Sabara Charan. Advaita Acharya, Lord Nityananda, Srivas Pandit, Gadadhar Pandit, Swarup Damodar, Murari Gupta, Haridas Thakur, and all the other devotees of Sri Krishna Chaitanya, bowing down with devotion, I hold their lotus feet on my head. Purport. The author of Sri Chaitanya Caritamrta teaches us that we must offer our respectful obeisances to all such pure confidential devotees of Lord Chaitanya if we indeed want to know him in truth. Shashta Shlokara E Kahila Abbas Mula Shlokara Arta Shunakariye Prakash. I have given a hint of the 6th verse. Now please hear as I reveal the meaning of that original verse. Text 230. Shiradhaya pranaya mahima kidrusho vanayaiva swadyo yena bhuta madhurima kidrusho va madhya saukyam chasyamad anubhavata kidrusham vetilobhat tadbhavadya samajani sachigarbha sindhau harindu. Desiring to understand the glory of Radharani's love, the wonderful qualities in him that she alone relishes through her love, and the happiness she feels when she realizes the sweetness of his love, the Supreme Lord Hari, richly endowed with her emotions, appeared from the womb of Srimati Sachidevi as the moon appeared from the ocean.
Okay, we can end there. We're going to take questions in a second. And so this is, this really summarizes, this particular verse really summarizes everything of the Lord's esoteric reasons for coming down. Desiring to understand the glory of Radharani's love, that's one, and the wonderful qualities in him that she alone relishes through her love, and the happiness she feels when she realizes the sweetness of his love. So the 3 different things. Understanding Radharani's love, understanding himself, his wonderful qualities that she perceives, and then also experiencing the happiness she feels. These 3 things, remember that. Understanding Radharani's love, seeing himself through her eyes, and feeling her happiness. Then Krishna comes down. These are the esoteric reasons why Krishna appeared from the womb of Sachimata, who was the mother of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Like the moon appears from the ocean. But actually, the reason that poetical metaphor is utilized is that the ocean doesn't really give birth to the moon, but appears to give birth to the moon. Okay. All right, so let's take some questions at this particular juncture. Stop sharing the screen. Allow you all to unmute yourselves. Okay, who has some questions here?
Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances.
Accept my blessings. So, all right, you have a question.
Yes, Gurudev. Gurudev, according to Jainism and Buddhism, people who follow them, they do offer liberation, not five kind of liberation. I think only one. Can you please explain what their philosophy is and what kind of liberation?
Well, I mean, Buddhism, all right. To really get into Buddhism, there's all sorts of different types of Buddhism. Some of them don't even talk about liberation. They just talk about psychological liberation, whereas others talk about nihilism. Nihilism means like making everything zero. That ultimately, and others are just like modern science. That's why so many modern scientists are attracted to Buddhism, because uh, a certain variety of Buddhism, which is very akin to Vaisheshikism, uh, teaches that. Oh, who was that? We just mute people here. Okay. A certain variety of Buddhism teaches that everything's just a combination of atoms or particles. So there's many different varieties of Buddhists, but basically, I guess they can be categorized under the Sunyavadi zero, that everything has no meaning, or everything is zero or void, or everything is just atoms, which is pretty much what the scientists say, that by chance interaction with the atoms and by chance evolution, everything evolved. So that's basically Buddhism. And the Jains, they talk about with Tirthankaras, actually it's really interesting how they don't have an elaborate eschatology. That's a fancy word. Describing what the spiritual world is like. They just talk about liberation, following in the footsteps of Lord Rishabhadev. So basically, they're both Shunyavadi. Shunyavadi, like we say, Nirvishesha, Shunyavadi. Nirvishesha is an interesting word, which means not understanding the categories or the differences between the tattvas. In other words, or amalgamating them all. You have Jiva Tattva, Vishnu Tattva, and Shiva Tattva and Shakti Tattva, and everything is one. That's Nirvishesha. And Shunyavadi means everything is void. So mostly the Buddhists, I can't say mostly because there's so many different varieties of Buddhists. It's not just one variety. There's Mahayana, and Hinayan. There are so many different varieties of Buddhists, and many of them believe in different things. They believe in there's pure land Buddhists who believe in that there's some pure land to go to when when you achieve liberation. So anyway, who knows? Who knows? And they don't have any clear idea. Neither do the Christians. Neither do the Muslims. I mean, the Muslims, what they think is that if you go back to heaven, and somehow or other you get to go back to heaven, there's all these celestial prostitutes waiting, virgins, they're waiting for you. I forget how many. I think it's 11 or something like that. I forget the exact number. Who just fight over you when you go back to the spiritual world. Anyway, that mostly there's no clear idea of what liberation means, or it's a negation of any sort of variety or personality. Only in Vaishnavism, and I can say that very clearly, only in Vaishnavism do we have a really distinct, clear idea, and all types of Vaishnavism, not just worship of Krishna, but worship of Vishnu, worship of the various forms of Vishnu. Do we have any clear idea of what going back to Godhead means? I mean, in the Christian world, there's a conception which is not clear, but it's basically that God is the big judge and he's sitting on a throne. And after this life, you sit in front of God and he judges you to give you your heavenly rewards. And actually, that's Yamaraj, that God. So there's no real clear idea. No real clear ideas. Mostly Mostly Nirvishesha, Shunyavadi. I mean, many Christian theologians, especially Judaism, is actually pretty much Nirvishesha. You know, Nirvishesha. I mean, it's very weird. Nobody really has a clear philosophical understanding except for the Vaishnavas about what God is, what the spiritual world is, what liberation means.
Gurudev, we talked about 5 kind of liberation. So
Yeah,
one of the liberation is like merging with the Brahma. But you said even merging with the Brahma is not permanent. So does that merging with Brahma falls under any 5 kinds of liberation?
yes, that's Sayuja Mukti. It's called Sayuja. And it's not that I say that merging with Brahman is not permanent. It's the Bhagavatam says it. Aruya Kachena Param Padam Patanch Yujmad Angrayaha. That one goes up to the Brahman. Whoops, you cannot move a video. I didn't want to move the video. Anyway. So one goes up to the Brahman and one falls down again because one is not satisfied by simply being in the Brahman. This is what the Bhagavatam states. Because the soul is inherently active and desires to be active and desires relationships. So the soul cannot remain in an unnatural situation, which is in a state of suspended animation in the Brahman. So the soul comes down. That's called Sayuja Mukti. That's one of the
Why is
5
it
types.
called mukti though? And it's not a liberation. And
Because
why is
it's
it called
liberation from the material energy. Mukti, in this particular case, doesn't refer to mukunda. It refers to freedom from the material energy. Because those who are in the Brahman are not subjected to the 3 modes of material nature or the material energy. That's why it's called mukti. But it's temporary. It's temporary. It's not permanent. Whereas the other types are permanent. You know, you're talking about Sarupya Mukti, which one has any form like the Lord and is actually in the spiritual world. Or Sharshti, one has opulence as the Lord, like the Lord. Or Samipya, one associates with the Lord. Or Salokya, one is on the same planet as the Supreme Personality of God. And these are all Vaishnava liberations. The devotee accepts those if Krishna insists, if it's Krishna's desire. But a devotee never asks for those or requests them. A pure devotee, okay, let me preface that statement. A pure devotee never asks for any type of liberation. A
so the
devotee, what?
so the requirement, like there are 5 kinds of liberation, then the way to get to each one of them is different kind of penance needs to be performed, I
No,
guess.
no. The way to get to Sayuja is you have to be a Paka Mayava. You have to perform penances, and after many, many births and deaths, you may come to the point of being detached to the material world, and you desire to merge into the Brahman effulgence, and then Krishna gives you the facility and desire to do that. That's penances and austerities. But the way to get to any of the other types of liberation is always bhakti, because they're devotional liberation. Sarupya means you're having the same form as the Lord, or similar form without the other symbols like the Srivatsa, Kostubhamani, but you're associating with the Lord. Actually, they all go together. This Asarupya, Sharshti, Samipya, Salokya, they actually all go together, because if you have Sarupya, then you're associating with the Lord. You're on the same planet as the Lord. If you have Sharshti, that means you're probably in the Vaikuntha planets. If you have Salokya, it means you're on the same planet as the Lord. Samipya means you're with the Lord, associating with the Lord. So all these different types of liberation, the 4 types are Vaishnava liberation, which are attainable by bhakti.
You
However,
get
when one becomes a pure devotee, one doesn't aspire for them anymore. Before one becomes a pure devotee, one aspires for them. And when you become a pure devotee, Krishna will give them to you if it's his desire. That's the catch-22. If you
yeah.
desire if you desire to live on the same planet as the Lord, which is pretty good, I desire, there's nothing wrong with that, then you can't get that until you give up your desires and only want to please Krishna. Because the only way to go back to Godhead is Anyabi Lashatachanyam Jnana Karma Napratamanu Kuyena Krishnandan Narushilanam Bhaktirutamam, is to not have any of those self-centered desires. That's the only way. So if you desire that, yeah, that's not pure devotional service. Pure devotional service means simply to desire Krishna's pleasure. That's pure devotional service.
Thank you, Gurudev.
Oh my God, there's a ghost in one of the video windows here. Oh my God, it's a ghost. Anyway, so maybe I'm just seeing things. That's Mother Tulsi ghost. Ghost of Sankirtan past. So, all right, so so who else has a question?
May I ask a question, Gurudev? Follow up from the last question, your last answer.
Yeah.
So you were saying that pure devotee, before he's completely pure, he may desire
Yes.
one of the four liberations, not, of course, not Sayuja, but any of the other four liberations. But once he becomes pure, then he doesn't want them anymore. So, so when Krishna says in these verses that my devotee doesn't want any kind of liberation, indeed, actually, he says he won't accept any of the other liberations. He's talking about someone who's already crossed the Rubicon for being completely pure.
That's right.
Correct?
You got it. You got it, baby.
So those of us that haven't quite crossed that
Those who
threshold,
haven't crossed it, yes, we should desire.
okay.
Yes. Like Prabhupada said, one devotee said to Prabhupada, I don't want to go back to Godhead. I just want to serve you life after life. And Prabhupada said, no, you should want to go back to Godhead.
So it seems that there's three categories of living entities. There's those that don't want to have anything to do with Krishna, and that's conditioned souls. And then there's sadhana bhaktas that want to get
There's
some
mixed
sort of
devotees.
liberation.
Let's say mixed devotees. There's
So-
rascals, there's big rascals and small rascals. And then
So actually, that's
there's
kind of a, so it's kind of like four categories, because there's also those that desire to go to the heavenly planets, and they do, they know about Krishna or Vishnu and they worship, but they still have material desires.
those are small rascals.
And then those that have a desire for liberation, at least, not Sayuja, but to go to Vaikuntha or to be close to Krishna, to go to the planet where he's performing his pastimes, or to have his association. That's like a step up. And then once practicing like that makes one pure, then they don't want any of that anymore. They're just desireless.
That's right. So I liked your background so much that I put myself in the opposite.
All right. Thank you, Gurudev.
I wanted to mention something that someone said the other day. They were just this picture that I'm putting up of myself with a nice background in the snow. They were talking about, I don't know who it was, Gopal, but they were talking about how winter is just like comes from Yamaraj or something like that. And it's meant for punishing. It's meant for punishing the living entities. And I was thinking about it. I'm going to make a philosophical point, not just that, I like it when it snows. Because snow, Prabhupada said, actually, it was interesting. Prabhupada was in Switzerland, and he was in Mount St. Helens, and he said it's actually Mount St. Hellish. But anyways, I'm going to take away my background right now. I don't like this one. So let me just take this away, go back to my house. Give me a second. Okay, that's better. So I was thinking about that when you look at things and you see Krishna behind them, then you can actually become blissful. Vishram Purna Shukayate. So a lot of our feelings of happiness or distress, not a lot of them, they're all dependent upon our mental state. So, which is a really important point. And of course, if we're Krishna conscious, then we'll always be happy in any situation. Kevalananda Kanda. Bhaja Bhaja Bhai Caitanya Nitai. So a lot of things are dependent. I was thinking about, so this comment that I saw on the internet, actually was on the internet and Facebook, about cold weather by someone who we don't know, who I've never met. Anyway, it should remain nameless to protect the innocent. So he just sent me a text. I was just thinking, it's just a question of the mental state. And then if you really fix yourself on Krishna, and if you're obsessive on Krishna, then you don't get unhappy. But if when you obsess on being unhappy, how miserable it is, then it makes you more miserable. So one of the main problems we have in this material world is obsessive compulsion. Just like, of course, Krishna also mentions that in the Gita. He says, Jayato Vishak Pumsam Sangos Teshu Bhajayate, Sangat Sanjayate Kama Kama Krota Bhajayate. From contemplating sense objects. So sense objects can be contemplated negatively or positively. In other words, I can contemplate, let's say, a new computer, which is my sense object. So if I contemplate it and then I become lusty and desire it and then become angry because I can't get it, then that's one thing. But if I contemplate something negatively that's so miserable, it has the same effect. I get attached to it and attached to rejecting it, because attraction and repulsion are opposite sides of the same coin, as Prabhupada said. Just like, do I have a coin here? No, I don't have any coins. Sorry about that. So attraction and repulsion are opposite sides of the same coin. So I'm attached, at least to my feeling of misery, and then I get depressed, which is even worse. And then instead of being happy, I know, being out in the ice cold is not the most pleasant experience in the three worlds. But if you contemplate it, then it becomes doubly unpleasant, triply unpleasant. And then what happens? Jayato Vishak Pumsam. Sangos Teshu Bhajayate. Then there's the attachment to, which means self-centeredness at this particular point. It's not to become attached to the cold. Sangat Sanjayate Kama. Kama. I must have a different location. I must go somewhere. Oh my God. And then Kama Kroda Vijayate. Vijayate. And Kroda Bhavati Samoha. One gets bewildered. Samoha. Samoha Smriti Vibhramaha. Smriti Brahmshad Nashtabhuti. Nashtabhuti Vinashyati. Everything's lost. So it's like that. So this particular verse in the Gita doesn't only refer to things that we want to do, but also things or places we don't want to be at. It has the same sort of effect in a negative way. So a devotee is nirapeksha, and nirapeksha in this material world. What is that? Matra, sparshas tu kontiya shitoshna sukadukada. Aga ma payano nityash tamsatiksha bharata. What is that? Matra sparsha. Sparsha is the touch. Tu kantiya. Sitoshna, happiness, summer and winter, pleasure and pain. Sitoshna sukha dukha da. So, And then in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, you have what? Nirmana Moha Jita Sangha Dosha. Nirmana Moha Jita Sangha. Yeah, Jita Sangha Dosha. Avyatman Nitya. Vinivrita Kama. Dwandwar. Here's the point. Dwandwar Vimuktar. Sukha Dukkha Samgyar. You know that? One must be free of the sukha, of this happiness and distress, known as happiness and distress. Kachanchimudha Padamavyam Tat. In this way, you go to that place up there, way up there, which I can't show you right now because you're not qualified to see. And that you're only qualified to see down here. Down, down, down. Kachanchimudha Padamavyam Tat. Anyway, we have to end now on that happy note. So we'll see everybody. Tomorrow is New Year's Eve here. And of course, tomorrow is New Year's Day in Australia and New Zealand. But it's New Year's Eve here. And so we'll have a class, and then after the class, there's going to be not on my Zoom account, but it's in Orion's Zoom account. There's going to be a kirtan going to midnight. I think I'm going to kick off the first start of the kirtan right after class. We'll end the class at 6, and then we'll start part of the kirtan from my house, and then on his Zoom account, which I'll give you tomorrow evening so you can join in. And then we'll continue the kirtan. Devotees will continue the kirtan because I will go to sleep till midnight, and which we will greet the new year with a party. Okay,